Joining me now to discuss these arrest warrant requests, a law professor, Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories, and Luis Moreno Ocampo, former and first Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court between 2003 and 2012. Thank you both for joining me on Mehdi Unfiltered today. Francesca, let me start with you. You and I had a conversation just a few weeks ago on a Zeteo Zoom town hall where you were very clear about what war crimes were being committed and about the need for arrest warrants. How surprised were you to see the ICC Chief Prosecutor come out with these requests for arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu, for Yoav Gallant, for these three Hamas leaders?
I was not surprised because this has been in the air for some weeks, right? But I was happy to see it happening because this is possibly a huge game changer in global politics and in the dynamics of the Israel-Palestine conflict, for lack of better words. I was not surprised to see application for arrest warrants against Hamas leaders. This would be expected because after his visit to Israel and Rafah, the prosecutor made it clear that he wanted to investigate what had happened on the 7th of October. I was finally happy to see action taken against two members of the Israeli war cabinet. I was surprised not to see a third one, but again, it has the potential to be a huge game changer and a way to deliver justice to the victims.
Luis, you were the ICC Chief Prosecutor for many years. You were the first. How big a deal is this? When you saw Karim Khan standing there on Monday morning making this announcement, how big a deal was that?
Well, it's a game change, as you say. I think we had a chance now to replace war for justice. War produced revenge. Wars produce more terrorism. The Hamas leaders indicted, they were victims also. They were removed, their families were attacked. So attacking people produced revenge. Justice not. And that's why this is an opportunity, an incredible opportunity to transform the dynamic.
And how hard a decision was it for Karim Khan to take to go after the Prime Minister of Israel, a Western ally? This is not some quote-unquote African tin pot dictator. This is the Prime Minister of Israel.
I'm very proud of the institution. No? Also, he did before Putin. No? So the court is, the incredible thing is what the court, with prosecutor, brave, doing his case. Now we have three judges from three different countries, Romania, Benin, and Mexico. These are the three judges who will decide. And we're not saying Hamas leaders are guilty or Netanyahu is guilty, but they are in the investigation. They are suspects. So for me, this opens something new. We have to see, it's not, the judges are doing their job. The prosecutor did his job. Now, what else can we do? That is, for me, the point.
So I want to come back to that. Just on a technical question, since you're the expert here. How long? He's only asked for arrest warrants. They haven't been issued yet. The pre-trial chamber of the ICC has to issue arrest warrants. How long do we think we'll have to wait for those?
Well, in the Putin case, the judges took 1 month. In my Bashir case, they took 8 months. So it depends. Something Khan did very smartly. He had a board with 6 prominent international lawyers reviewing his evidence, including Theodore Meron, who was first, he's a victim of the Nazi regime. Yeah. He's a victim of genocide.
And he was president of the Yugoslavia Special Tribunal.
Yeah, and he was a legal advisor of Israel.
Yes.
So come on, we're not talking about someone.
And don't forget Amal Clooney also on that advisory board. Francesca, you produced a very detailed report of your own. The last time we spoke, you were promoting that report, which accused Israel of the crime of genocide. The ICC does cover genocide, and I find it interesting that while Israel and its supporters are attacking Karim Khan for this arrest warrant, for the accusations of war crimes and crimes against humanity, some Palestinians might argue that he went soft on Israel by not including a genocide charge in there. What's your view?
Well, yes and no. We also need to take into account the politics. So I looked at the list of crimes that he had considered, and there are not just war crimes, which is what has been discussed for a long time. There were crimes against humanity, starvation as a weapon of war, and this would be the first time the ICC considered this, imposing suffering, willful killing, not just murder, extermination, persecution, and attack on civilian population. So plus, he said that this is an investigation which is ongoing, open and active. So additional charges might follow. And also additional charges against new suspects. So for me, this is as good as it could get. And I agree with Luis on the fact that he made his case as strong as possible, already knowing how much pressure there would be against him, against the court, and he sort of protected himself with not only with two former military prosecutors, one from the UK on his side and the other one from the US, also with a team of experts, which is okay. I understand it's US, UK with a former Israeli advisor, but this is as strong as it can get in order to move forward.
So in terms of moving forward, Luis, I was in a barber shop yesterday getting a haircut. And the guy in the chair next to me was watching the news on the screen. He said, "This is ridiculous. What a ridiculous court." It's an American guy. Ridiculous court. They're never going to get Netanyahu to trial. What's the point of this? What do you say to people who say, he's never going to see the inside of an ICC courtroom?
Well, that's the same as Bashir. Bashir was, now he's in jail. But the point here is how we can use this in a smart way.
Yep.
Not politically, be smart. Israel is something that Israel never did, investigate the financials of Hamas. And that's the opportunity. US could provide evidence of the financial activities of Hamas, how they bought the weapons.
So you're saying an ICC trial, an international criminal court trial of Hamas, would actually help Israeli and Western arguments against Hamas?
More than a trial. I think, as Francesca say, Karim Khan say he's still investigating. So you can add a new investigation on the financial aspects. Because that's the winner. I was a prosecutor for many years. You cannot control organized crime without controlling the money. And that's what we are not doing. So Israel can, instead to complain, provide evidence about the financial activities of Hamas, how they're buying the weapons.
But right now, the Israeli war cabinet doesn't care about that. They care about the fact that when Sarah and Benjamin Netanyahu go shopping in Paris, they may get arrested.
Well, but that's Netanyahu, not Israel. Israel is more than Netanyahu.
Well, now it's the government. By the way, just on a technical point, just explain to our viewers, if an arrest warrant is issued, what does that mean practically for Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant?
Well, first, it's order in the world. These are crimes, and you are prime minister, but you also could commit crimes. The fact that you are a democracy is making worse the situation, because how a democratic leader could commit war crimes?
Agreed.
And it's not out, because President Biden is building a port to solve the starvation problem. So come on, the starvation is obvious. And starvation, my friend Israel understands, starvation is a crime, obviously. So that's, if the court is issued a warrant, Netanyahu has a chance. Netanyahu can do what the Kenyans did. Instead to request to receive a warrant, they say, no, court, I will go. I will go before you.
I don't think he's going to do that.
Okay, he's brave. Go.
I don't think he's brave.
He believes he's right. Go to the judges.
Okay.
Show his.
No, he's saying. Hold on, Luis. He's saying that Netanyahu has said that Karim Khan is one of the great anti-Semites of the modern era. That's what he said.
What about Theodore Meron? He's a Nazi victim. He say the Karim Khan is perfect.
And just to be clear before I go back to Francesca, I just want to be very clear for our viewers. You're the former ICC chief prosecutor. Do you agree with what Karim Khan did? Would you have done what he did?
I had no idea the evidence. I'm not talking to him, so I had no idea what he did.
But you have your views. You've been on the record since October 7th saying you think it's genocide.
In my field, yes. I think 3 days after the beginning, when I say Hamas commit genocide, I also say Israel is committing genocide under reasonable basis to believe. So it's a standard to start an investigation.
Okay.
But so that the court is doing. Okay. But the problem is not what the court will do, it's what the rest will do with that as well.
So on the rest, let me ask Francesca. Joe Biden, President of the United States, quote unquote leader of the free world, self-appointed, has come out very strongly against the request for arrest warrants, has slammed the ICC and the chief prosecutor in a way he didn't when it was Vladimir Putin a year ago. Of course, the US is not a party to the ICC. Technically, they can say none of our business. But when the ICC chief prosecutor went after Vladimir Putin, Biden said it was justified, it was a strong decision. He allowed the US intelligence agencies to cooperate with the ICC. But now a year later, when it's his friend Bibi, he's suddenly undermining the court quite strongly in his rhetoric.
I think there are different considerations here. Surely there is this alliance with Israel, which is ironclad, and so it cannot be discussed and undermined by anyone, let alone a court which is based on a statute, the Rome Statute, that the US is not even part of. And by the way, the US had already taken measures against officials of the court before this case. The former prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, but also the U.S. has not the U.S. administration has not distanced itself from the letter that Congress people sent in an intimidation letter that the Congress people sent to the ICC prosecutor, threatening himself, his family members, officials. I mean, frankly, when I read that letter, I said, "What is this thuggish language?" And the fact that some politicians can use that language and others tolerate it, I find it very, very dangerous and revealing. But I think there is also something that goes beyond the political alliance between the US and Israel, and is the fact that probably the US administration also starts being nervous about the possibility of its own responsibilities for what has been committed in Gaza reaching out overseas. I mean, sooner or later it will happen, and I'm glad that actions have already been taken. Legal proceedings were already started in the US itself against this administration, which has provided incredible financial, military, and political support to Israel, while people, thousands of people, were being slaughtered.
And of course, that letter that Francesca cites from 12 Republican senators is a letter we broke at Zeteo, and it certainly was thuggish language. Luis, there is an act of Congress that was signed by George W. Bush, which is colloquially known as the Hague Invasion Act, which allows for the US government to arrogate itself the right to send the military into the Netherlands to rescue any American personnel or allied personnel. Yeah. On top of that, Speaker Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, has already announced this week that the House will try and pass legislation to sanction the chief prosecutor and his employees and the court. How intimidated or threatened or worried should Karim Khan be? How worried were you when you were in charge of the prosecutor's office?
At the beginning, my office had 10 persons. I was very proud. Oh, the most important person in the world is afraid of our small office. That was a proud moment. We ended okay, but that was, for me, it's not about political consideration. I don't like to be involved in political discussions because political discussions are clouding the problem. Imagine, the money for Hamas to buy the weapons is in Turkey. But because Turkey is an ally, US is doing nothing against Turkey. What is this? We are shooting and killing people in Gaza and protecting the guys who are financing Hamas. It's ridiculous. Killing the small guy, the soldiers in Gaza will not stop Hamas. Take the money, prosecute the leader. That's why the leader of Hamas is in Qatar. He also can go to ICC. He can also say, look, let me go to ICC.
And I should point out, neither Qatar nor Turkey are parties to the ICC either. They're not going to arrest him on their soil either.
I don't know what Qatar will do, but the leader of Qatar, Hamas, is there, and he can say, look, I am ready to expose my life. I go to ICC and talk to the judges and present my arguments and present cases against...
Just to be clear, the Turkish government and the Qatari government say we don't give any money to Hamas. Just to put
No. I'm talking about Turkey. Company. It's a company. It's a company.
Financial
called,
networks. Okay.
It's a company called Trend, exposed to a New York Times investigation, saying they were managing the money. It's not the government, but the government.
Understood. Okay. I'm sure they will make their denials and will.
No. It's not the denial. It's a New York Times article about the lack of financial investigation. My point is, we can use the arrest warrant at the ICC to do financial investigation.
Yes, it's an allegation right now from the Times. You're saying investigate it by the court.
Yes.
I just want to ask you this question about. You said you don't like the politics of this, but fundamentally the ICC is involved in politics. Karim Khan spoke to CNN this week, and he said that one Western leader told him behind the scenes that this is a court that's supposed to be for Africa and thugs like Putin. That is what he says a Western leader told him. You, when you were chief prosecutor, and you and I spoke many years ago on Al Jazeera English, you were criticized for going after lots of African leaders. A lot of African governments said the ICC is biased, they only go after African leaders. The majority of indictments at the ICC over the last 15, 20 years have been of Africans. What's your response to that?
The ICC is new because it's trying to put limits on national leaders. You cannot commit crimes to stay in power or expand your power. That's the line. That's why what ICC is doing is putting a limit to political leaders. Of course, it's a conflict with the political leaders, but that is why the ICC is there, to put a limit, to protect
But until
people.
Karim Khan came along with Putin and Netanyahu, it was mostly just African leaders, isn't that
But
true?
why people in Africa do not need protection? Why you
It's not that they don't need protection.
Why the ICC?
What about the Europeans and the Middle Easterners and the Americans and the Brits?
Look, we open investigation in British troops in Iraq. We review the facts. We had no jurisdiction in US, so it's a limit. ICC has limits. So in my time, I did what I should do. And the most important thing in my time, people were thinking ICC would be closed. No, it became a reality. And we indict head of states in the cases we have. We cannot invent cases. We do the cases we have to do.
Did you ever think of going after Israel or investigating Israel-Palestine? At the time, you didn't have jurisdiction at the time.
For 3 years, the Palestinians came to my office asking to intervene. I told them, look, I'm sorry, you have a problem, you are not state. They were very smart and told me, let us brief you about it. Yes, you can brief me. And they were briefing me for 3 years. Israel was furious with me, and America was furious with me. I did not care. I keep and that's why in 2012, the General Assembly accepted Palestine as a state. And that's why later, Palestine became a state, and 2021, the court opened the investigation. That's why when Karim Khan arrived, he was able to open the investigation immediately.
And right now, in your personal view, I just want to reiterate, you do believe Israel is guilty of war crimes and genocide.
I'm not saying it's guilty. I believe
should be investigated for war crimes and genocide.
No, should be investigated for war crimes and whatever crime you have evidence. Karim said regarding genocide, he's still collecting evidence. That's fine.
But you personally think it's a genocide. You've said that.
I said that my opinion is you should open an investigation on genocide. That's fine. But opening case on starvation is strong enough. It's good enough. I don't need 12 indictments. One indictment is enough.
Francesca, I want to give you the last word. Given the reaction from Joe Biden, given the reaction from the British government also, which is actually a party to the ICC, unlike the United States, how worried are you that the US and the UK, which helped build the international legal architecture after World War II, which goes on and on about rules-based order, is willing to burn it all down for the sake of their relationship with Israel?
They will try to do that possibly, but this is not what I'm really concerned about, because this is not. I don't think that European member states and all European member states are party to their own statute. I don't think that they will go that far, because they also realize that the rule-based order is something very dangerous. We have to care for an international law-based order. This is what multilateralism should be about, and what is risked here. But I think you have heard me saying that before. There were opportunities and obligations to investigate the war crimes and crimes against humanity, take settlements as war crimes, or take the unlawful deprivation of liberty in mass numbers of Palestinians in the West Bank, and the many wars that had taken place investigated by Commission of Inquiries before the 7th of October.
Yes.
The failure we are under is bare testament to the lack of effectiveness of that system. We can turn the tide now, and this is the challenge upon member states.
Last word, Luis.
The US like rules. They don't like independent enforcement. That's the difference.
That is a good point to end on. Luis Moreno Ocampo, Francesca Albanese, thank you both for your expertise and analysis. Appreciate you both.